The people in Sandeep's life were vanishing, one by one. One sweltering summer morning, while he was making his way to the market, a wheel on his cart suddenly splintered. The cart lurched, sending both milk pots tumbling to the ground. They shattered instantly, and the white liquid bled into the thirsty, dusty road. Sandeep sank to the ground, burying his face in his hands. "Why does this always happen to me?" he wailed. "I am cursed. Luck has abandoned me." An old woman passing by slowed her pace. "Young man, why do you weep over spilled milk?" "My entire day's labor is wasted." Sandeep barked back in frustration. "The old woman offered a knowing smile. "Tell me, when was the last time you inspected your wheels?" The crying stopped abruptly. I don't remember," Sandeep stammered. "Perhaps never." "Then whose fault is this?" the woman asked, her voice calm. "Yours or God's?" Without waiting for an answer, she walked away. The realization stung. She was right. He had never maintained the cart, never oiled the axles, never looked for wear and tear. Yet, rather than taking the lesson to heart, he returned home in a foul mood, cursing the man who had built the cart. As the days passed, his business withered. Then, a spark of hope arrived. A wealthy merchant approached him with a proposal. "I require fresh milk daily for my large household. Can you provide 20 liters every morning?" Sandeep was ecstatic. "Yes, sir, you shall have the finest milk." But reality was stubborn. His 3 cows produced only 15 liters. A desperate, dark thought took root in his mind. "I'll add a little water, just a splash. He'll never notice." For a while, the deception worked. Sandeep's pockets grew heavy with coin, and he began to fancy himself quite clever. But one day, the merchant's mother fell gravely ill. The physician insisted. She'll be given only the purest, richest milk to regain her strength. Suspicious. The merchant tested the delivery and found the truth hidden in the watered-down liquid. The merchant summoned Sandeep before a gathering of villagers. "You thief," he roared. "I gave you my trust, and you repaid it with deceit. My mother suffers because of your greed. I will never buy from you again, and I will ensure every soul in this village knows of your treachery." Shame burned hot across Sandeep's face. Word traveled like wildfire, and soon his remaining customers turned their backs on him. That night, haunted by his own reflection, Sandeep decided to flee to the city. "I'll start over where no one knows." "My name," he told himself. He packed his meager belongings and began the 2-day trek. On the first day, a torrential downpour forced him to seek refuge under a massive tree. A young man was already huddling there. "Dreadful weather," the stranger remarked. "I was heading to the city to find work." As the hours ticked by, the rain intensified. Suddenly, a deafening crack echoed through the woods. "The tree. It's coming down," the young man screamed. They lunged away just as the giant timber crashed onto the very spot where they had been sitting. The young man knelt by the trunk. He pointed out, "The core is completely rotten." It looked majestic from the outside, but it was hollow and weak within. That's why it fell. Sandeep stared at the decaying wood. "Just like my life," he thought. On the outside, I'd played the part of an honest milk seller, but inside, I was rotting with lies. And like this tree, I have collapsed. As they continued their walk together, the young man shared his own burden. I used to work in a sweet shop. I stole the owner's secret recipes to open my own business. It thrived at first, but because I hadn't truly mastered the craft, I eventually failed. Now, I'm going to the city to learn the right way from the beginning. That evening, they reached a small village temple where an elderly priest offered them a meal. After eating, Sandeep unburdened his soul. The priest listened in silence, then spoke. Years ago, I was a lazy farmer. I neglected the weeds and ignored my fields. When harvest came, my yield was pathetic. Yet I blamed the soil, the rain, everyone but myself. Then came a great drought. I lost everything. I sat under a tree and wept for days. But eventually, the tears stopped and the thinking began. I realized that the drought wasn't my enemy, it was my teacher. The priest continued. I became a student again. I worked under an old master for 5 years, learning the earth's secrets from scratch. When I finally bought my own land again, I succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. Remember this: failure is not your foe. It is your greatest mentor, but only if you are humble enough to listen. Sandeep lay awake that night, the pieces of his life clicking into place. The broken wheel, the watered milk, the sick mother, the rotten tree. By dawn, his path was clear. He would not run to the city. He would return home. The 2-day journey back felt different. When he arrived, his wife was stunned. You've returned? Yes, Sandeep said firmly. I'm tired of running. I'm going to make things right. The next morning, he stood at the merchant's gate. Sir, I am deeply sorry. I cheated you and I put your mother's health at risk. I was wrong. He then visited every customer he had ever slighted. Most slammed their doors. Some shouted insults. But to each, he offered a sincere apology. Then he went to work. He repaired his cart with care. He tended to his cows with newfound devotion, cleaning their stalls daily and ensuring they had the best feed. Their health improved, and so did the milk. He never added a single drop of water again. Even on days when the yield was low, what he sold was honest. Slowly, the tide turned. One day, a former customer tasted his milk and paused. Sandeep, this is excellent. The whispers changed from cheetah to Sandeep has changed. Customers trickled back. Months later, the merchant's servant came for him. I have been watching. You, the merchant told him. I saw you seek forgiveness from the village. I have secretly tested your milk 3 times, and each time it was pure. I believe you are a man of your word now. Will you supply my house again? Tears of joy blurred Sandeep's vision. Yes, sir. Thank you for the second chance. Years passed, and Sandeep became the most respected merchant in the region. When a young, struggling seller once asked for the secret to his success, Sandeep smiled. There is no secret, my son. I failed many times and lost everything, but I learned that failure isn't a dead end, it's a classroom. I stopped running from my mistakes and started facing them. That made all the difference. Sandeep looked up at the sky, a quiet gratitude in his heart for the broken cart, the fallen tree, and the long road that had finally led him home. He knew now that the greatest triumphs are those born from the hardest lessons. Failure, he realized, had truly been his best teacher.